This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
We have water bottles, we have electrical outlets and couches.
Ring the bell, Mr. President.
Putin may wag the dog and attack NATO.
Red card. I didn't know what a red card was. When I found out, I said, you got to be kidding.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Storms, and more storms. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Webster. Pennsylvania, and to a lesser extent New York, had one stormy Independence Day weekend, and it's not over yet. A flood watch posted for most of PA until tonight. The weekend storms knocked out power to over 100,000 across the state. Governor Josh Shapiro praising hundreds of utility workers who were getting the lights back on.
Let me just reiterate how grateful I am to the folks at PEMA, PennDOT, and all of our state agencies who this weekend left their families to come here and keep the rest of us safe. So I'm just profoundly grateful to them.
Crews from as far away as Canada headed to PA to help out. Pocono Township Commissioner Charles Kepler tells WBRE in Scranton they've opened up a relief center in their municipal offices.
We have water bottles, we have some snacks and some food, we've got board games, we have electrical outlets and couches so people can plug in and charge up their cell phones. We've also got a hose bib outside so people can fill jugs of water with non-potable water to take home and fill their toilet tanks and stuff like that so they can flush their toilets.
Kevin Williams has the forecast for your area later in this newscast.
Ring the bell, Mr. President.
President Trump ringing the opening bell from the Oval Office as he hosted officials from the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ to commemorate the launch of his new investment accounts for kids, saying they are, quote, absolutely incredible for children and will help kids become, again quoting, very wealthy people. Trump will be sounding a metaphoric alarm bell this week when he heads to the NATO summit in Turkey, concerned not only about the situation in the Middle East, but the state of the war between Russia and Ukraine. A former State Department official, Steve Gagner, tells ABC recent Ukrainian drone strikes that have damaged Russian refineries and created long gas lines there could prompt a worrisome move by Vladimir Putin.
Putin may wag the dog and attack NATO somewhere along Poland, Latvia, or Lithuania in a way that sort of distracts the Russian people away from how poorly the Russians are doing in Ukraine.
Russia's overnight bombardment of Ukraine left over a dozen people dead. According to Ukraine, Russia launched 68 missiles, including 23 ballistic missiles and over 300 drones. As for the Middle East, well, relative quiet as Iran continues days of official mourning over its late Ayatollah.
Inside of Iran, this has been a large parade as well as a funeral procession, and there are images circulating online that show some of the people throwing stones and rocks at posters of President Trump, others chanting death to America and death to Israel.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Israel. Trump also making headlines in the sports world today, saying he phoned the head of FIFA to ask for a review of the red card that initially got U.S. soccer star Flo Balogun suspended for tonight's round of 16 match against Belgium. FIFA later deferring that ban, meaning Balogun is eligible to play tonight. Now, Trump concedes he's not exactly a soccer expert.
I think the referee's call was horrible. And nobody talks about that. They talk about the red card like it's fine. Nobody talks. The referee's decision to red card. I didn't know what a red card was. When I found out, I said, you got to be kidding.
Tonight's opponent, Belgium, unsuccessfully tried to have the ban reversal reversed, but says it might still file a protest if Belgium plays tonight. The man accused of murdering Charlie Kirk, seeing the evidence against him and facing Kirk's widow for the first time today. A week-long evidentiary hearing kicked off today in Provo, Utah, where prosecutors are trying to make their case against Tyler Robinson. Here, former Utah Valley University police officer Chris Bagley describes how he secured the area near the event and discovered a disturbance in the gravel on a nearby rooftop.
To me, it looks like a sniper pad, a person that has been laying in a prone position, and you've got markings of elbows, knees, and feet to where somebody was in the line of sight of where Charlie's tent was.
The hearing marks the first time Kirk's widow, Erica, and his parents are in the same room with Robinson. Maine Democratic Senate candidate Graham Plattner says he's, quote, taking time to reflect after the latest sexual assault allegation against him. In a report by Politico, a woman who dated Plattner has accused him of forcing himself on her almost 5 years ago, despite repeated objections. Plattner has denied that and other similar allegations from other women. An air traffic control recording of a seaplane's hard landing on New York City's East River has been released. ATC.com capturing the audio.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. The down on the water. Looks like the pilot is okay. I can't tell if there's any more passengers. Is anybody injured? Negative. This is the other seaplane. There's a personal civilian boat with them now. It looks like they're going to be okay.
Only 2 minor injuries reported after that seaplane carrying 8 passengers made a hard landing around noon Sunday. The FAA says that hard landing caused a wing strut to snap. The plane had to be towed back to a dock. The FAA also was looking into a reported fireworks strike on a Delta Airlines plane when it was landing at Chicago's Midway Airport on the 4th of July. The airline says the aircraft was hit by a firework Saturday night coming in from Atlanta. The plane landed without any issues. Still to come here on the 5 o'clock report, a recap of our top regional stories, and we'll tell you about a hand-built traveling chapel making the rounds in the southern tier. First, here's weather with Kevin.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. A front that has delivered at different times since the start of the Independence Day weekend, showers and thundery downpours, is still in play, but it is slowly pushing away to the south. Showers will thus diminish. Drier air will move in. As we head through midweek, brighter and more pleasant conditions are expected. But it'll still be fairly cloudy tonight, still be some showers around. The focus will be in Pennsylvania. There could be an evening thunderstorm. Low temps, low to mid-60s, some patchy fog. Tomorrow, maybe a shower early east of I-81 in eastern Pennsylvania. Otherwise, clouds and areas of fog break for some sunshine, the high in the 70s. Wednesday, good deal of sunshine and pleasantly warm with high temperatures, then in the lower 80s.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Now checking the stories making news where you live. Across New York and Pennsylvania, over 100,000 people in the dark when the day began in Pennsylvania and New York over weekend storm damage. Family Life's Sarah Harnish breaking down some of the hardest hit areas.
Yeah, Mark, it was all because of storms that rolled through on Sunday. Pennsylvania is number 2 in the nation at this hour for power outages. Most of the damage was in Lancaster County, but Monroe County still has more than 8,000 without power, and Pike County in northeastern PA has 2,000 out. Nearly 40,000 have no power in New York, mostly downstate in Ulster and Dutchess counties. Sarah Harnish, Family Life News.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Weather wasn't the only violent thing this Independence Day weekend, especially in western New York. 2 people died, 1 injured yesterday after being shot in Niagara Falls, apparently stemming from a fight among 2 separate large groups of people. In Buffalo, a dozen people injured in several separate shooting incidents, overwhelming hospitals for a time. The Buffalo Police Benevolent Association posting on social media that one officer responding to a call in his neighborhood where people recognized him had his home targeted. In another incident, a man climbed up and sat on top of a grain elevator for several hours. In Rochester, police say 7 people were shot. Another individual ended up being stabbed. None of those injuries believed to be life-threatening. Rochester Mayor Malik Evans, though, says the city's looking into implementing curfews to try to curb the violence.
There are a lot of different ways in which you can do curfews. You can do them at certain times. You can do them around certain events. You can do them during the summer. There's all types of things that would have to be looked at. I think it's a shame that I have to look into it because I believe that the village should make sure, our community should make sure that you don't have 12-year-olds out at 1 and 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning.
Evans says the efforts of first responders may well have prevented, quote, a significant loss of life. Grief counseling being offered in a pair of Western New York school districts today following the weekend drowning of a 15-year-old student. The tragedy occurred Friday afternoon at Lake Erie Beach Park when that victim, Sky Han, went underwater and didn't resurface. After being located, lifeguards performed life-saving measures until additional emergency personnel arrived. Han was transported by ambulance to Mercy Hospital but could not be revived. Both the Lakeshore Central and Forestville Central school districts offering counseling services for students, staff, and families affected today. New legislation in the Pennsylvania House requires data centers to cooperate more closely with first responders. Family Life's Brian Query explains.
House Bill 2535 would require data center developers and operators to provide floor plans and infrastructure inventories to fire companies annually as a condition of occupancy. Representative Christina Sappi, the bill's sponsor, says it is vitally important for first responders to know what they're walking into in any situation. The bill would require centers to give first responders critical safety information before and during a crisis. The bill also includes penalties for non-compliance. Brian Query, Family Life News.
All right, thank you, Brian. Well, Western New York's Jessica Jessica Pegula is into the quarterfinals at Wimbledon for the second time in her career. Her second time reaching the stage. She'll next face fellow American Coco Gauff tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Pegula, daughter of Buffalo Bills and Sabres owner Terry Pegula, is the highest remaining seed in the women's singles field at Wimbledon. Up next, highlights from today's noon feature. A hand-built traveling chapel is collecting Christian literature throughout the month of July in the parking lot of Family Life Ministries in Bath, New York. That literature is then donated to people in need all over the world. Roger Woodruff of Alfred Station, New York, is leading that effort. He spoke with our Bob Price.
Someone donated a trailer for us, a little 4x8 trailer, and we thought originally we'd just park a trailer at churches and they could clean out their libraries, and pastors who aren't using their materials could just put it in the trailer. And we thought, well, it would be kind of cute if we made it look like a chapel. So that's kind of how it started.
So let our listeners know what sort of stuff they could donate if they so desire.
Well, Bibles, really used new Bibles. The place where we send them is Love Packages in Butler, Illinois, and they're kind of a clearinghouse for Christian materials, and they have a bookbinder there. So Bibles in any kind of condition, even if they're only parts of Bibles. The missions that they send these to, some of them have virtually nothing.
If you would, just share why God has been so gracious in blessing this ministry that you have.
Well, of course, people have been very generous as far as giving and getting this material out to the places in the third world countries where they're needed. We will collect materials until we get about a ton or so, and then send them out on a freight carrier we contract with.
CDs, DVDs, Blu-ray discs, do you take that sort of stuff as well?
Yeah, we don't take any VHS tapes, but DVDs, CDs, Blu-ray, they're all useful.
So tell us a little bit more, Roger, about the place where all this goes to, Love Packages in Butler, Illinois.
Okay, some ministries kind of started grassroots. A pastor over there had decided that some of the materials that were sitting around in his home were just not being used. You know, they're kind of things that you don't want to throw away, a Bible. So he asked some of his missionary friends if they could be used overseas, and he said, of course, send us all you can. So they've grown to the point where now they have 2 locations in the United States, and they send out approximately 40 tons a week in shipping containers that are then sent overseas to 7 distribution points.
I think I counted 7 Bibles in my home. If you would just talk to that, how we as Americans take for granted having the Word of God available at our fingertips, quite literally, whereas there's many places where it's hard to get your hand on a Bible.
Yeah, Love Packages in Butler, Illinois have a couple of videos, YouTube videos, that are really a good thing to look at to get a feeling for what's needed. There are stories of pastors that are preaching out of dollar store New Testaments. They have nothing else. So, yeah, it's materials that are really useful, really needed in those countries.
That's Roger Woodruff of Alfred Station, heading up an annual effort to collect Christian literature all month long using a hand-built traveling mini chapel stationed in the parking lot of Family Life Ministries in Bath, New York. That literature then will be donated to people in need all over the world. He spoke with our Bob Price. You can hear the entire feature and all of our Family Life original news features at Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, and FamilyLife.org. This is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
The wealth of others can look impressive, but Scripture tells us not to be intimidated by it. Hi, I'm Rob West with today's Faith and Finance Minute. Psalm 49, 16 and 17 says, "Be not afraid when a man becomes rich, when the glory of his house increases. For when he dies, he will carry nothing away." That's a freeing word in a comparison-driven world. We can see someone else's house, lifestyle, status, or success and begin to feel behind, inferior, or anxious. But the psalmist reminds us that earthly glory has an expiration date. No one carries wealth beyond the grave. Titles, possessions, and applause all stay behind. That doesn't mean money is meaningless. It just means it's temporary. So don't envy what cannot last. Steward what you have for what will. Connect with a certified Kingdom advisor who's been trained to deliver financial advice that aligns with your Christian values by visiting our website, faithfi.com.
Thank you, Rob. Finally at 5, beating the odds in Vegas. A pair of Las Vegas firefighter paramedics helped a newborn and his mother do just that after the woman, like many homeless people in the desert city, gave birth inside of one of its many flood control tunnels.
It's intense. You never know exactly what you're getting into.
That's paramedic Eric Paul, who tells tells KVVU he sympathizes with those who seek to live in those tunnels.
I understand why they do it. It's much cooler down there. It's a shelter from the sun. It's a shelter from the elements, but it's extraordinarily dangerous, not only for them, but for those of us that go down, you know, when things do get out of hand, to rescue them.
Those tunnels turned deadly during flash floods, and even without that issue, the baby born in the tunnel was hard to access and time was critical.
The cord was still attached, the placenta was still attached. He wasn't responding initially.
Thankfully, the newborn was in very experienced hands.
I delivered my oldest too, actually, and I think on the streets, probably, 6 or 7 over the years.
And all of that experience made all the difference on this call.
You suction their airway and you stimulate them as you clamp in the cord, see how they respond. The baby came around. He was actually very, very healthy. This went about as well as you could ever hope for.
Mother and baby are both doing fine now after a call that Paul says epitomizes what being a first responder is all about.
At the end of the day, every one of us wants to help somebody. Every one of us wants to go on that call that has a positive impact that changes somebody's life for the better.
Valiant in Vegas. That's the world we live in for Monday, July 6th, 2026. Thank you again for joining us. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.